about that? I am honored to be here, the Day of Excellence. Listen, I want to first of all thank First Interstate Bank for even bringing me here. I got a chance to meet some amazing volunteers. Brenda, who drives extremely fast, brought me here. Thank you for that. But I want to tell you how I started my journey in excellence. I got a chance to meet Mike Oster. If you know Mike, we had a conversation. I was out working out. He walks up to me and he said, how do I get muscles? And I said, listen, it may not be possible for you, Mike. And so we did meet. We started talking on the phone and we talked about this journey in excellence. It's about where we start. And if you have a bad start, it doesn't mean that has to be a bad ending. It talks about that journey of being able to go from where you were to where you want to be and how to make life a reality for yourself. Dreams that seemed impossible become something that becomes reality, that becomes so large that other people can join in on it. In fact, I know this personally because I'm going to share with you my story. I was born in 1973. Some of you think that's a long time ago, but to me it feels like it was yesterday. No, it doesn't. But it sounded good, right? So watch this. So I was born, and there was excitement. My mom was 18, my dad is 18, and they were excited about having a baby boy. And then when I came out of the womb, they found that there was something wrong with my leg. They didn't know what it was, but it looked like it was broken, so they put a stent on me at birth. 3 months later, I had my very first surgery. 90 days old, they decide to try to fix my leg, and they take a part of my rib cage, and they put it down where my tibia is. That's the bottom part of your leg, right? In which, at that moment, they thought this might fix it. That was just the beginning of my journey. Every 6 months from the day that I was born, I started having surgeries. I never got up, I never got to walk, I never got to run and do things with other kids. I spent all my time in wheelchairs and walkers, and I didn't have that acceptance. In fact, I was 11 by the time that I took my very first step. And in the course of that time, so many things came into my life that were trying to set me back, to keep me from taking a journey into excellence. My father, when he saw me born, looked at it and said, this can't be my son because there's no way I could give birth to a cripple. And so 3 times during the course of my childhood, my father would blood test me and just say, even though it says you're mine, I just can't believe that I could give birth to a cripple. There is nobody in my family that's ever been a cripple to this boy. He can't be mine. And so I started off with a sense of rejection. My mom, you thought I would get love from her or something, but she was young and didn't know exactly what to do, and so she passed me over to my grandmother and let my grandmother take me in. And so my grandmother brought me into her home and gave me love, and if without her, I didn't have that, so shout out to all the grandmothers that are in this place now. Let me tell you something that began to happen with me. I can remember going into surgeries, and I would come out of the surgeries, and every time I thought, this would make it better. This time I'll get up and do what everyone else is doing. I would watch all my cousins play, and I wondered what it was like to feel grass under your feet. I wanted to do everything that every other kid did, so I can remember when they got me a walker, I decided to do what every person in here has desired to do, to join in and throwing rocks at cars. So I had seen all the neighbor kids they would go and they pick up pebbles and they hit a car and take off running. And I set a goal in my life. It was my first step in the excellence journey. I said, I am going to hit somebody's car with a rock. And so this actually happened. So I get my walker. I'm 4, almost 5, and I can't quite hit the cars because I'm too far away from them. I didn't think about the escape plan at the time. And so I said, I got to go ahead, and if I'm going to hit one of these cars, I need to be able to get away. These other kids would take off running behind houses, and they're gone, and I'd see them laugh, and I was like, Lord, just let me have that one moment, hit a car, and then get away. And so I got my walker, I got in the middle of the street, because I figured there's no way I could miss it if I'm in the middle of the street. So a guy comes down the street in his brand new Cadillac, He pulls up, he stops, think, I hit him. And then my escape. Well, as I'm going away, this guy gets out of his car, he helps me up the step. We go to my grandmother's front door. And I'm thinking I'm getting away from him. I'm like, I go ahead, I'm like, Grandma! And he knocks on the door for me. And then he snitched. It was at that moment I realized sometimes your journey in excellence has to take a different plan. So I was sitting there and I said, man, I wanted to be just like everyone else. I can remember sitting there and asking Grandma, why did I have to be born this way? Why is it that I don't get love from that? My mom doesn't tell me she loves me. My dad won't even own me. He won't even acknowledge me. The other kids can't play with me. They keep thinking I'm so fragile and stuff. And so I spent all these days sitting on the porch with my grandma, listening to her. And she became not only grandma, she was my best friend. She's passing on wisdom and stuff. And the whole time I'm being raised, she keeps giving me a nickname, calling me Superman. I am a kid with a disability. I'm crippled, and my grandmother keeps calling me Superman. From my earliest remembrance, if you look at my childhood pictures and photos, you see me with a Superman buckle, shirt, something on. Because my grandmother's mindset was this: baby, you are not crippled, you have kryptonite. There is going to be a time where you will overcome that, and you will become a symbol of hope to a whole lot of people. They just don't see it yet, but it's coming. And so when she started to call me that, I began to believe that. I began to believe that somehow I had some purpose, that somehow I had value in my life, and that I could journey to be more if I would become more. But it's hard to overcome a bad start when all you can think of is the rejection. There's a neighbor that lived across the street. He was the last good guy, and I say he's a good guy because he was choosing to stay in the inner city when we had already destroyed the value of the community. This guy was the last of the white people in my neighborhood. And this guy sees me on the porch and he asks my grandmother, what's wrong with the boy that never comes out? And we thought he was just being nosy because I was used to people saying, what's wrong with him? And I hated that question as if I wasn't enough. It sounded like there's already inherently something wrong with someone saying, what's wrong with him? And my grandmother said, well, he was born with a problem with his leg. And he said, what is it diagnosed at? And they said, we don't know. They had no idea what it was wrong. They kept trying to fix me, and there's another surgery, and there wasn't a whole lot invested. My grandmother couldn't read or write, so there was some struggles that she had in communicating some things. And she said, we don't know what it is. And he said, ma'am, let me tell you who I am. He said, I'm a Shriner, and we'd like to volunteer to take that little boy and cover all his medical expenses. We'd like to take care of your grandson, do whatever it is that he needs. And my grandmother said, you will do this free of charge. You'd help my baby. And he said, absolutely. And I'm so glad that this guy was willing to go across his comfort zone and come over to us and ask the question, because he was bringing solutions. I didn't know it then, but that would be the very start of my journey in excellence. Someone who was selfless enough to invest in a kid that couldn't give anything back. And so this is what happens. They arranged for me to go to Chicago, and for the first time in my life, they put my mom and dad in a van with me, and I had never had them together. I'm 11. Never had my mom and dad around me. We're riding to Chicago, we stop at Cracker Barrel, tell us we can eat whatever we want. I'm getting all the candy and stuff. I'm like, this is the best ever. And that's all I had was candy. I just kept going with candy, you know? Because they can't really do anything to me. It's free. And the guy said I could have it. Mom would look at me, don't ask for anything else. Sir, can I have some more? Yes. This is awesome. And so we get to the hospital in Chicago, Shriners. And at the time, even the hospital was called Shriners Hospital for Crippled Children. So we arrived to the hospital. This is not a new thing to me. I'm used to going through this journey in hospitals. We walk in, I have a surgery, and then I end up going home. This time they give us a tour, and as I'm going through this tour in this hospital, this is amazing because it's the first time I'm there and it's like Disney. Everything is focused on giving the kids an experience. I go and they have wheelchair decorating contests. We have arts and crafts. We have games that we play, and every kid in that place has something like me. All of us are going through this journey. I thought I was the only one because everyone else I had always seen my life. I had never seen another amputee. I had never seen anybody with anything else. I had never seen any of these issues. It was just me. And finally, I found out there's a community. There's a word there. When you start your journey of excellence, you will find that there's a community that's been waiting on you. You just don't know it yet. But if you can get in that environment, you'll find that there are people who've been waiting to accept you as you are, and they will help you improve from the moment you get there. We're in the hospital, and they give us a tour. And I'm like, man, I love this place. And they take me to a unit inside the hospital called Great Lakes, and they give me 2 roommates, and I never had that before. We get into the hospital room, and they were like, these are going to be your friends, Matt and Gilbert. And so I said, hi, guys. And they said, before we put you into your room, we wanted you to meet them, but we got to go upstairs so your parents can say goodbye. I'm like, okay. So we go into the room. We're spending time together. And my dad, who I never really had a connection with, sits down and he says, listen, if you ever need me, he takes his necklace off and hands it to me. Mail that and I'll come. Now, that's the first gift he had ever given me. And for the first time, I believe that maybe he is accepting me. My mom comes down, kneels down in front of me and says, listen, baby, we got to go. I need you to be good while you're in here. I'm like, okay, no problem. I'm used to this. I'm in the hospital. You guys will pick me up soon. But where's Grandma? He said, Mama can't be up here. And I said, okay, well, I see her when I get done because I'm used to this. I've had 34 surgeries before I turned 11. Every 6 months, I'm going through surgery, rehab. I've never known what it's like to walk yet, and I've seen 9-month-old babies walk, and I've never had that experience. I'm in this hospital. My parents leave, the nurse takes me down, and I get to meet Matt and Gilbert. We finally have roommates. We're hanging out. Gilbert is from Chicago. He was thrown off a top floor at Cabrini Green projects in Chicago. He was paralyzed from the neck down for life. He's 12. He's on my left. On my right side is a kid named Matthew. Matthew is 8. He's a small white kid that is loving. He's funny, but he lives inside of a little incubator. He's fragile. His parents reach through gloves and interact with him, but he didn't allow that box to allow him to be boxed in. He would speak and laugh, and we'd crack jokes, and I would pull my wheelchair on one side of him and talk to him all the time. And then when I would lay in the bed, they had placed a mirror on the ceiling so that we could all see each other's faces, and I could talk to Gilbert. And so all night long, we'd talk. Plus, nurses, if you know any, they like to bug you all night long. You're like, hey, are you sleeping? I really was. Let me just check some things. If you leave me alone, I could. So I remember we're sitting there, we become fast friends. We're building a relationship. This is the best thing ever. Because I was an only child and I didn't have friends. All I had was my grandmother. So here we are, Gilbert. Gilbert is talking, he's telling us stories about him growing up and how his accidents happened. Matt has only known his experience. He's not like Gilbert. He's never known what it's like to walk. I don't know what it's like, so we envy what he had, though he lost it. Matt goes in for surgery one day, and I used to love spending time with him because Matt had a mom and dad, and it was the first time I'd ever seen a mom and dad work together with their kid. Gilbert hadn't seen it either, and we looked up to the mom and dad to see them love on their kid, and we wondered what would that be like to have a mom and dad that would accept you. It's a word for every kid that's in here, every kid that you let see this. Don't take your parents for granted. Be thankful that you have them in your life. If you've got an active mom and dad in your life, that is a superpower. That gives you a head start in the journey of excellence. Embrace that. Don't rebel against that. So we're watching. Matt has to have a surgery. And so it's time for Matt to go to his surgery. And we're like, see you in a minute, bud. And they roll him out. He's saying, bye, love you, see you in a minute. Day goes by. He doesn't come back that evening. The next day, his dad and mom come in, and they're walking very slow. And we're like, hey, where's Matt? And they pause for a moment. And Dad says, Matt went home. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, he didn't say bye or anything. And they were like, no. Matt, they didn't make it. And for the first time in my life, I realized that kids can die. But for me, that had become my brother. And Matt's gone. His mom and dad we're not going to see anymore because it was the only parents we had seen. And now they're going to be gone. And we kind of enjoyed them. We loved them. In fact, but Matt being gone, there's an empty space now, and it was rough. And his dad came over, and he gave us a teddy bear that belonged to Matt. And he was like, I want you to have this. And so, Justin, the teddy bear that was given to me was a symbol of their love for him and his love for me. Thank you. The teddy bear was a symbol from a caregiver. They cared for us. He cared for us. And it was the reminder of that love. There's a lady in here that has given so much to DOE. Where is Cody at? Stand up, Cody. Would you come here for a moment? You see, in life, you're given a gift so that you can give a gift. All I've known is that you're a great caregiver of so many others and have been through, and I want you to know that you are loved. And the gift that was given to me, I give to you.
Thank you.
Come on. The journey in excellence begins when you can become a giver rather than a receiver. The love that they poured into us and we got to display and see, we get to pass that on so that somebody else could have it. They said, James, why not hold on to that? Because I already get to live that. I get to live the life that he didn't because I took that in, I echo that stuff so that everywhere I go, Matt carries with me. And now he carries with another caregiver. And on the other side of me now is Gilbert, and he and I are both experiencing the loss of our friend, and they didn't replace anybody in that room. One day they go, hey, listen, Gil, your mom's coming to see you. And Gilbert got so excited because the whole time we had been there, he hadn't seen his mom, and I still haven't seen my grandma, and my mom and dad hadn't been back. And I hadn't had my surgery yet, so I'm just sitting there, I'm wondering what's going to happen. Gilbert is like, my mom's coming. They start picking his hair out and stuff, and he's smiling and stuff, and I'm watching. And then the day comes, she walks into the room, and they close the curtain. Now they forget we got a mirror, so privacy. I'm like, you know. So when, it's funny when she looks over, she sees it, I pretend like. But then I'm still eavesdropping, but I had to pretend like, what else am I going to do, though? Like, I'm not going to let me leave. I don't even. So I'm laying there in the bed, I'm watching, and Gilbert is all excited. And he's like, he's waiting on her to acknowledge how good he looks. Because they cleaned him up, and we're not in hospital gowns, we're in clothes. And he's all happy, and it meant the world to him. He didn't sleep the night before. I couldn't sleep because he kept talking about my mama's coming. And she walks in, and she goes, hey, Gil, and she said, Mama. And she goes, listen. I don't have a lot of time, but I got to talk to you. And he said, yes, Mama. And she said, listen, Gil, they just told me you'll never walk again. He knew that, though. And he was like, yes, ma'am. That's a lot of work for Mama. There's no way I can't do it no more, baby. I got to live my life too. What am I going to do with a boy that can't walk no more? You can't even do nothing. What am I going to do? I can't do it no more, baby. I've signed you over to these people. They going to take you from here. It was at that moment, man, that I felt his pain because I'm watching and he's afraid. And he goes, Mama, please. And she's like, you're making it hard on me. I cannot do this. You ain't going to walk. You ain't going to do nothing. And Gilbert's begging, and she turns, I can't do this, and walks away. And Gilbert starts yelling, mercy, Mama, Mama, Mama. And I'm watching him, and I'm like, oh, no, man, not only did Matt die, but parents will abandon you and leave you in here. My grandma, she ain't came. They're not coming back for me. They're not coming back. That's why they're not here. They're not coming back for me. Gilbert's laying there. Mom's gone. Matt's dead. I'm like, man, I just realized what's happening. They're not coming back. They took me to Chicago. I'm from Indiana. They're not coming back for me. He's crying. I'm crying. We're struggling with this. What do you do when they give up on you? If the person that's supposed to love you unconditionally says, you are too much, you're too disabled, you're too crippled, and I don't want anything to do with it. Gilbert sit there, and I watched him trying to hold his breath to take his life. I watched him try to bite his tongue, and I saw him, he quit talking, and all night long, Gil, talk to me. And he won't, because he had been broken. The next day, they come in and they tell me to take a bath, and they're scrubbing me, getting me ready. I thought it was just a normal bath, but then they roll me out, and I can remember getting sleepy, and when I woke up, my leg was gone. And nobody told me. All I know in my life is my leg was there. Even though I've been in a wheelchair, I've been limited, it's all I ever knew. And when I woke up, it was gone. No mom, no dad, no grandma. And so I realized they left me. Gilbert and I both broken. One of the nurses saw Gil and adopted him herself. She had been taking care of him, loving on him, and when the mom gave him up, she took him home. And so I look at the fact that there are people who are scaffolds in your life. They are there for a season, and they will season you up so that someone else knows how to get you from where you are raw to well done so that you can be what you can be. That nurse was what he needed. She stepped in without a child of her own, adopted him as her own, and he got a family right then and there. That was a win for him. I watched that happen for him. But what about? Doctor comes in. How you doing, James? And I waited until he got a little closer. And he said, you okay? I whispered. He gets close. I grabbed my pillow. I tried to hit him. I did that. I almost got him, too. He was quick, though. I think he went to Northwestern or something. He was really fast. So he got away from me being able to hit him, so now they strapped me to the bed. And I was like, the people done got me. I don't know what to do. I'm angry because it's all I ever knew. In the journey to excellence, there'll be times where you'll have to release things in your journey and you don't even realize that you no longer need them because they don't serve you. We are attached to what we used to be. We got to get familiar with what we can be. Finally, my mom comes to visit. What stirred her to show up is she had heard that I had attacked a doctor. So when she comes in, she doesn't come in to show me love. She walks in all strong. What's this I hear you were talking back to adults? But now I'm in a better attitude because it's been days. But I'm so happy to see her, but I'm afraid she's going to leave me like Gilbert's mom. So I was like, I'm sorry. And she said, you know better than talk to an adult like that. I'm going to say, yes, ma'am. The truth is, behind my yes, ma'am is a begging, please don't leave me. Even though grandma was my primary, my mom is there, and I don't want to lose her, and I haven't seen grandma, and I don't know what's going on. I don't even know if she knows because she can't read or write or those things, and I haven't heard from her, and maybe it's just, I don't know, but I don't want to lose you, so yes, ma'am, I'm sorry. My mom says, well, what's this behavior? And she's calming down. I was just mad because they took my leg. She said, well, boy, they wasn't working anyway. Yes, ma'am. The nurse is in there and she goes, ma'am, I'm going to tell you, I was telling James this. He is going to walk one day. He has a dream of playing basketball, and one day James will play basketball. In fact, James will do some great things. It's just a matter of healing, getting him a good prosthetic. And my mom said, hey, wait a minute, hey, don't give my boy false hope. You see, in my mom's mind, she went off of my resume. Somebody may want to write this down. She went off of my resume, but she didn't understand my potential or capability. There are a whole lot of you who've been judged by people based on your resume, but your resume only tells you where you came from. It does not tell where you're going. The same word, resume, is resume. Whatever it is that you were born to do in greatness, you can still get there, even if you end up put on pause, if your dreams look like they're interrupted. If the journey to excellence looks like it got cut off, there will always be a secondary path. And when the path opens up, you have to be willing to open up yourself to accepting it. I couldn't stay attached to the leg because it's gone. They even gave me the honor of going to a room so I can see what they took away from me, trying to help me understand the adjustment I'd have to make. The nurse had already built my confidence up some, so when mom was talking and she said, James will play basketball, he'll run, he'll do this. I've never walked a day in my life, yet my mom is listening to a nurse tell me that I'm going to run, play basketball, and do all these things. And she said, don't give my son false hope. And so I looked back at the nurse, and she was like, no, ma'am, listen, I've got 30 years experience. I'm telling you, I've seen this. James will. And my mom says, look at me. And so I turned and I looked at my mom, and she said, you're a cripple. You understand that? And I paused for a moment. I looked back at the nurse. Is that true? And she said, no, ma'am. He's going to be able to live like every other kid. And my mom said, look at me, I'm your mother, not her. You are a cripple. That's all you are. That's all you've ever been. That's all you will ever be. Do you understand me? I went to look at the nurse, and my mom grabbed my chin and said, I said, say it. Show me you understand what I'm saying to you. You are a cripple. You have been one. You will be one. You will never be more than that. You're a cripple. Now you say it. And because I'm afraid of losing her, like Gil lost his mom, I paused for a moment, and then she slapped me. And when she slapped me, it scared me, and she said, say it. And she went to slap me again, and I paused, and I put my hands up and said, I'm a cripple, Mom, I'm a cripple. I'm crippled. I'm done. I'm a cripple. I'll never do nothing. I'll never be nothing. And she said, now you understand. And so I broke. So the nurse every day comes in trying to encourage me. James, you can do it, but I can't do it. I won't go to rehab. I won't try, because what's the use? I'm a cripple, and I don't know what grandma is, and that's the only one that loves me. And Mom and Dad, he never came back. I even asked him to send this necklace, and he never even gave me his address. That nurse that was there asked me, do I know my grandmother's phone number? And I said, 765-649-9882. She calls her, and my grandmother, against all of her insecurities, goes to a Greyhound bus station, and unable to make sense of what was there, and said, can y'all just get me to Chicago? Because the nurse said, he needs you. Without the ability to read and write, without asking somebody for permission, or my mom or anyone else, my grandmother shows up at that hospital. And all I hear is, where's Superman? Where's my baby? And I hear her voice, and I lift my head, and she said, I heard they told you you wouldn't be anything but a cripple. And baby, I came to tell you, you are still Superman. And when she began to speak life over me, and she began to tell me that I was born for greatness, you can get up, you can do anything you want to, baby. Doesn't nothing stop you. There's people here to take care of you. I came to tell you to get up and try it again for me. In that very moment, I said, I'll go to rehab. They gave me a prosthetic, and I began to walk. And when I took my first steps, I didn't do it without having on that Superman shirt. Because the journey in excellence that began for me the moment my grandmother came and helped me remove that negative stigma off of me. And I came here to tell every one of you, you are excellent. You are all superheroes. I don't care how many mistakes you've made, how many times you've messed up. I don't care how close you've been to bankruptcy. I don't care how many times you failed. I don't care what the health had looked like. Every one of you in this room is a superhero who is headed in a journey in excellence. And I defy anybody to tell you that you cannot be something. So I decided I was going to go on a mission to prove them wrong. So I began to walk immediately. They gave me the prosthetic, and I began to move. Now, in my mind, I had the smoothest walk of all time. Now, when people saw me, it was more like this, Frankenstein, like Mike O's. Listen, don't say that, don't. I don't know why you even brought that up, Justin. You're petty. But here it is. They had a class where they would teach you gaits. Gaits is the term they use for your strides, your walks. Physical therapists in here know what I'm talking about. So anyway, they have all of us kids who are learning to walk in one room. We're in our PT room. And they said, we're going to bring some people around here, and we're going to show you the different walks. Show you you can walk. Watch them walk. Visualize it. If you see it, you can go do it. So we're watching, and they bring in a doctor, and they were like, would you like to learn to walk like him? And they're like, no, not that dude, no. And so they brought in other people, and then it was really difficult when they brought women by, because a lot of them would switch, and now you're talking about difficult for prosthetics to mimic. That Jessica Rabbit walk is impossible. We're like, nah, we don't want to do that either. So anyway, they keep bringing people by, showing us different walks. And they were like, see guys, see how they move, and they're explaining stuff. And there's a guy out there as a janitor, and he's mopping. And we see him walking, and he was like, we're like, we want to walk like him. That dude right there. They're like, we got doctors here, we got physical therapists, we got nurses. No, the janitor, that dude. That's the dude, yeah, him. And so I was like, man, that's the coolest walk. So I was trying to add I hadn't learned to walk yet. I was trying to add cool to my first walk. You already know that went wrong, right? So I was going, I was like, yeah. And I was like, this is kind of cool, you know? You can't even tell I got a prosthetic. Yeah, you can. Well, it was funny though, when they gave me my first prosthetic, I was in love with it. I'm like, man, I got a leg, but it was 25 pounds. It was connected there with a rubber foot on it, and the only question I had was, like, because the leg part, they made that brown. I loved it, but the foot was white. I was just wondering if we could somehow get They didn't have any at the time. They didn't. So I'm just going to keep a sock over that one because it's hard to explain to people like, you know, I'm mixed. So here's what happens. I decided I wanted to play basketball, but I had learned to be able to stand, hop on my sound leg, my good leg. And so as we're sitting there, I would watch basketball games, and I was like, Grandma, I want to play. And she was like, you do, baby? And so she bought me my first weight set. Now, some of you don't know anything about Hulkamania, so I got to tell you about it. So the first weight set I got was a Hulkamania weight set. I should have known it wasn't very heavy because I got to carry the whole box out with it, right? You carrying it? But in it had a cassette tape, a headband, 2 blue weights, and a half-torn T-shirt. But that was it for me. Grandma was like, baby, I got you. I was so happy. We opened it up. I got the headband on. I grabbed the weights. I did it for like 3 or 4 seconds. Walked back in there. Grandma, feel. Feel that. And she's like, woo, baby, you getting strong. Hold on. Give me 5 more minutes then. So I go back. Dude, I'm feeling it. I was started doing that walk like John Smith here does, right? I was walking around and I was like, yeah. And Grandma was like, you know, she kept building this whole alter ego with me and stuff. And in fact, my mom and I got into another argument. This time because now my confidence is high and I'm a Hulkamaniac. And she was like, hey, listen, do you really believe that somebody could hit you upside the head with a chair? And they could do this repeatedly. And they could do this 20 times in a row. And at the end of beating you with a chair, you could stop, listen to a crowd, cup your ear, and then get up without it hurting you anymore, and then win. And I said, I'm glad you asked that. I remember looking her in the eye and I said, if 10,000 Hulkamaniacs are behind you, you can do anything. That day on, she banned me from watching wrestling, so I never got to, I don't know what happened with the Hulk since then, but I never got to see him again. So, but it was the philosophy, it was the mindset. I used to listen to that tape. It would say, eat your vitamins, say your prayers, do good. I would listen to it, and whether I knew it or not, I was getting daily affirmations every single time I played it. And that's a birth for you. You see, the journey of excellence begins when you decide to let 2 things happen at the same time. The negative stuff that happens in your life, you can't avoid. But how you respond to it is up to you. You see, excellence is a choice. And like Mike Oster says, you can make excellence your average. How do you make it your average? Because I make that thing that is said positively become louder than the voice that tells me I can't do. And whichever one of those I feed more is the one that gets nutrition and then will feed you. You must feed yourself daily affirmations. You got to get up and look in the mirror. I don't care if you feel it or not, you begin to say things to yourself like, I am tall. I have freckles. You start off with some true stuff, right? You don't just start off with like, you know, I am this. But I began to speak, I am an athlete. I am great at this. I will set world records. You begin to speak those things that are not into existence as if they already have been done. You say them and you become them. But that's the journey in excellence. I decided after working out, and I got big in 10 minutes, that I would go ahead and I wanted to play basketball, but I was doing it with the idea I would prove someone else wrong, my mom. And so I've been watching on television. I was like, Grandma, I want to play ball. And I was hopping around all the time because that's what amputees can do. I can do that all day. I can do one-legged stands like it's a challenge or something, but it's not. That's where we can be very comfortable. So I'm hopping around and I'm doing those things, and she buys me a trampoline, and I would jump on the trampoline and watch IU basketball games all day, all night. I would watch Georgetown, and I'd watch Patrick Ewing in the paint, and I would mimic their steps. The same techniques they taught me to learn to walk, I began to watch on how to play basketball. And so I'm watching that. I watched their movements without the ball, and I was like, that's how you do it. I figured it out. And I was like, Grandma, I want to try out for the basketball team. And she said, baby, then you can do it. And so I see that they have a tryouts coming up. So I get to the tryouts, and the coach looks at me, he sees my prosthetic, and because it's 25 pounds, it doesn't yield. It's got a rubber foot. It's very heavy, but I'm learning to walk with it, but I still do a little bit of a drag. So as I'm doing that, I had started to watch and notice how everyone else moved, and instead of walking and dragging it, I learned that it was heel-toe, opposite hands, and it was controlled at my core. So I started being able to cover up so it wasn't always so noticeable. And so I thought I was prepared for this. So we get there, and I've been playing basketball in the backyard. Grandma's been encouraging me all the time. The work that I'm doing that they hadn't seen is about to show up, but I didn't realize that they had other things that they had to do other than to play. I had never experienced that. I never walked before. Now I'm walking, I'm running. I'm doing all this in the same year. It's a miracle for my family and for me, but to the coach, it's a liability. So he says, we're going to start off with Death Valleys. Anybody know what Death Valleys is? They call them suicides or stuff when you got to run and touch stuff. It's a way of torturing kids and get away with it. So we get there, and the coach is like, we're going to do some Death Valleys. And I was like, I came for basketball practice. I don't know if it starts afterwards or, and he was like, no, we all got to do this thing. And so I'd never done this before. And so I'm watching the kids and stuff, and it's like, okay, you touch it, you run, you touch, oh nope, not, oh, shoot, I'm already behind. It's like Simon Says to me, because I'd never done it before. And so I'm in last place, and I'm running back, and at the end of it, he goes, sorry. You couldn't finish the mile in under 6 minutes. You didn't know how to do those things. They cut me. But he didn't have a conversation with me. He said, outside of this room, there's a list on the wall. If you made it, your name will appear. If it isn't, thanks for trying. And so I go ahead and I run out there, and I'm looking to see if my name is on there, and it's not. And the only one cut is me. And there's no one to comfort you. Was I just dreaming? Maybe I aspired to be more than I could have. So what I did was I decided I'd go back home and I'd come back and show them that was more than that. So I saw there was a Wendy's sign, and it said, Wendy's 1 mile ahead from my grandmother's home. So every morning I got up at 4 a.m. and I ran and touched that building. And then I'd watch the time. Run, touch the building, come back. I did that every morning religiously. I did Death Valleys and on my own. I would go to the court and I'd run and I'd touch, and they were like, and so I got to the point that there wasn't a thing that I couldn't do. And I was like, man, I'm ready. So I show back up. And I'm completely in shape. I'm ready for this. I prepared for this. The very things he cut me with, I'm back and I'm stronger in those things than ever before. I worked on my lateral movement, so if you test me to my right, I'll be there. I'll meet you there. I knew how to work at angles and stuff. I played against older men all summer long so that I would be ready for kids my age. And I walked in with a sense of attitude about it. You're not cutting me. We get to the practice and we're going through it. And he goes, Death Valleys. And he goes immediately to the thing he cut me with a year before. But I know that he's doing it because he wants to get me out of the way and get to his real team. So we're running down. We touch all the lines. We touch every line. and we get done. He said, until the last man is ready to drop, we don't stop. And every time we finish it, I put my hands on my hips, and I look back at him, and he's like, again. So we run, we touch the lines. We keep going, and everybody else is bent over, grabbing shorts and sucking wind. Some kids are throwing up, but I'm still standing there with my hands on my hip. And he was like, again. So we run it again. And I just keep looking at him. But then I started yelling at him, and it became the speech that opened up the world to me through YouTube, because I said, put me in the game, coach. I just kept yelling. We're touching the lines. You're not cutting me. I don't care how much stronger they are. I don't care about their genetics. You put me in the game. I keep yelling at him. I'm not going to quit, because I wasn't just trying to make the team. I was trying to be validated as a man, as a kid. I wanted to be shown that, man, I mattered, that my life was something. I wanted to prove mom was wrong. I was trying to strip the cripple off of me. He says again. I keep looking at him, yelling, I'm not giving up, man. I'm not bending over. And I have my hands on my hips, man, but I'm not bending over. Again. And I turn, and the prosthetic turns and dislocates my knee. My whole dreams. I'm laying on that floor, and my leg is twisted. I'm like, man, I never had anything go right for me. I tried. I got up every day. I said my prayers. I did everything I was supposed to do. If the journey in excellence was supposed to be mine, it should have happened now. My story should have been that I overcame something right now. And he walks over, and everybody else turned their back on me, because it's gruesome to look and see somebody broken. Everyone wants to watch a broken person, but no one wants to heal them. And so when you find yourself broken and you're on that ground, the journey of excellence begins internally. I had a choice to make. Do I get up, or do I stay down? So I straighten my leg out and I push it in myself. And they were like, James, stop. I was like, Coach, man, you're not cutting me. You see, I'd always got around on one leg anyway. And I wasn't finished with my rep. And so I started hopping. James, stop. Nope. You're not cutting me today, man. As I kept going, the same people that turned their back turned around and started running with me, because you cannot deny when destiny is on you. I was in pain, but I still kept going, because it was a mindset, and when your mind is set, you're set. Man, that's a word. Then he cut me from the team. He really did. I didn't make the team. He was like, he loved it. I know it would have been a great movie. No. I want to shout out to my coach, Mike Oster. Thank you so much for always being there for me, man. The way years go by, I keep the habit of working out, because I never want to go back to the wheelchair. The wheelchair was a chair of opportunity. Stay there or get up. I got out of it, and I didn't want to go back, so I kept working out. A tragedy happens. I've got limited time, so I got to speed up with this. But it's in the book. I promise you. You grab it, you'll love. So I wanted my grandmother to see me play. That's all I wanted. I didn't make any teams in high school games on my high school, but I tried out for an AAU team. Same AAU team that the kids who made my team at my high school were going out after. But there was a difference that had happened. What I had built on the inside was a resilience that in an effort that they couldn't reach. I thought about everything that I've been told. I'm a cripple. I would never amount to anything and all those things. And I decided I was going to make that team. I treated every moment like it was Game 7 of the finals, when they thought it was just a game. There wasn't a time that I didn't give my full effort and attention. I gave everything I had, and I got my first state championship as an AAU talent, playing against guys that were Jason Kidd, Grant Hill, Sean Bradley, guys that made it to the NBA, and I got a chance to play up against them without ever making a high school team. If you think that's something, I got a basketball scholarship off a VHS tape. What I did, they filmed me playing a guy named Damon Bailey. And Damon was the hot shot at the time for Indiana. But he had, every move he did, I had seen in the hood a million times. I'm like, I know where you're going. But I also learned to watch their gaits. I knew their movements. And so I got a chance to guard him, and my grandmother's there, and she got this big she watching me, man. It's like, and so she's recording this, and I thought about it for a moment. I was like, I can't waste it because Grandma here. I'm going to give it my all. So I guarded him like my life depended on it. And he was letting up on me because he thought that the leg was an issue until I stripped him twice. I get the ball in the lane, and see, I'd always hopped around. I got my first dunk in the 8th grade. I didn't need a running start. I was 6'4". All I need is to get to my good foot. If I got to it, I got you. So I get in the lane, and there's a kid named Alan Henderson that went on to IU as well. He's playing in the post. I get a dunk, and I come off of that, and you're talking about what it felt like. For me to dunk on these All-Americans and stuff, this ball was coming off the rim. It's not like I drove the lane, but it's coming off the rim, and they're underestimating me. I get up, and I got my first dunk, and I came down with that gorilla stuff. I was like, finally. We take the tape. I send it around the colleges myself. I get a scholarship. I go off to Owatonna, Minnesota. The coach didn't even know I had a prosthetic. I didn't tell him. He didn't ask. So when I show up on campus with the scholarship off the VHS, we done had conversations. He had flown out. He met my family. They didn't have any amputations. He didn't ask. So I get the scholarship. I get there. Day one was standing there. What happened? What do you mean what happened? This is awesomeness. This is what you're looking at. I'm Superman, dude. What are you talking about? Listen, I got to tell you this. So here's something that happens. Life is going great. Things are happening. I go to school. We get to the point, it's time to graduate, but I need $1,200 to take finals. Anyone in here knows if you don't have the money to take finals, you might as well throw it away. Senior year. I called my mom. I said, listen, I've worked. The scholarship covered this. I need $1,200 to get my degree. And she said, come home. I'm not giving it to you. If you don't have it, you just don't have it. Life seemed like it was setting me back. I was so close. I would be the first in my family to go to college. It was that. I would have been the first to graduate. Didn't get that. I come home and start working. My grandmother gives me a call, and she's not doing well. When I was 8, she once said to me, make me a promise, you'll never let me go in a nursing home. Now I'm in my 20s, early 20s. I get a phone call. I'm living in New York. I get a phone call. I'm topping sales in the company I'm working at. I'm doing well. And she said, baby, you remember the promise. She never repeated that promise, but I knew what it was. And I said, Grandma, I got you. And so I went into my boss. I said, I got to move back to Indiana. He said, oh, wow, when are you thinking about doing that? I said, I'm leaving tonight. And he's like, what do you mean? Listen, James. I said, either you get me a transfer there, I just get a new job out there, but my grandma needs me. And when I needed her, she came for me. I get there, and my grandmother is outside, and we're there about a month after me moving back. She stays in her house. I bought the house next door to her. I let her keep her independence. I'm there for her and all that stuff. And one day we're out in the driveway. My grandmother falls on the ground. And I was like, Grandma, you okay? I loved her so much I even named my daughter after her. Her name is Keziah. And when Miss Keziah fell, a great part of me fell. And so I go and I pick Grandma up and I'm holding her. They call an ambulance and I'm like walking out toward the street. Grandma, please. My grandmother never came home from that hospital. And I was struggling with that. To be honest, it's been 20 plus years and I still struggle with it. They say that time heals all wounds. It does not. You just turn what that pain is into purpose. And if you can switch the mindset and say, I got to live big enough for both of us. She gave me the best of her last years. She invested wisdom into me from the time that we were sitting there. From the time I sit in the kitchen watching her cook and listening to her, I was getting wisdom that will one day become quotes that I'd be known for. I had started to lift weights and motivate people. My first post in October 2014 was called Absolute Motivation, and it was me talking about openly saying I'm an amputee, and if I can get over the fear of what people think of me, you can too. One day I'll speak on stages. One day, I said that then, and there's a video on Facebook, if you look it up, where I'm talking about that. So I'm speaking about what would be, and then my grandmother passes away, and I'm working out. And I'm hitting the gym as a sanctuary to feel better about myself. I didn't want to compete against people with disabilities because we didn't have push-pull, deadlift, bench press, squat. I wanted to compete against able-bodied people, and they put me in the 275 category. I don't know why. I weigh 135. So they put me in that category, and I'm against the big guys, and we get to this competition. And so we're in this competition, and they're lifting, this is the deadlift portion, and they get to the counter, and they're saying, hey, listen, we have kilograms. How many do you want? And I was like, oh, my God, I don't even know what those are. So I was like, how much does this guy got? They said, got 300. And I was like, okay, that sounds good. Now, I have a prosthetic, and I'm in this competition, the first lift. We get there, and I get to the bar, and I had only been lifting in the gym, but I'm watching how everybody else is doing, and I start imitating them. So I go down to go grab the bar, and when I go down, my heel comes off the ground. I fail on the attempt. When your heel is off, your base is off, and you're not going to be able to lift. I learned that on the first lift, and people were like, oh. It made me think of my mom, saying you'll never be. Second time we go for a second lift, I get a hold of the bar, and this time I go wider out, and I keep my base down, and I go to lift, and it gets under the lip of my leg, and if you see on the side, it's designed in such a way, and so when I lifted it got stuck under it, and you had a down movement, you go come up, and then they said, you're disqualified on that, it doesn't count. I'm down to my last second, so I gotta say it quickly, I'll say it this way. Last lift comes up. I've been operating in insecurity in this journey of excellence. I was afraid of what everybody else was doing. I didn't know how I could do against them. And I was allowing myself not to perform when the opportunity was there. I get to this last lift, and I look down at it, and I'm watching these guys, people slapping them on the back and face and stuff, and I'm like, I'm not going for that. So, but I'm in front of this 10 seconds, and I look down, and I remembered picking her off the ground. So when I reached down and picked it up, my grandmother was in my heart, 760 pounds. I lifted, set the record. In the Olympic Training Center in Fort Wayne, Indiana, there's a banner of me. And I never played in the sport, never made it, because Superman is for real. Thank you all.